Hi guys, and welcome back to another video game with the powers. I'm Jake, and in today's video I'll be doing an overview and then giving you guys my review of the board game Alpha Clash Cosmic Conquest. If you guys are interested in taking a look at this game, go ahead and check out the link in our description below. This will lead you to Cosmic Conquest campaign page where you can go ahead and give the game a follow. I hope you guys enjoyed our unboxing that we've done for this game, showing off the components and everything that would come in this standard version of the game. If you guys have not had an opportunity to check out that video, I'm going to go ahead and put it somewhere up here where you guys can take a look at my reaction to unboxing all the stuff that comes in Alpha Clash Cosmic Conquest. Alrighty guys, well, let's go ahead and jump down to the table. I'm going to show you guys how to play the game and talk about the game in general, and then we will come back up top here and I will give you my review of the game, my thoughts, my opinions, what I liked, what I think you might have hesitations about, and just give you basically an overview and review of this board game, Alpha Clash Cosmic Conquest. Alright guys, so we are down here at the table where we have everything set up for what would be a two-player game of Cosmic Conquest. Alright, the overall premise of the game is each player is going to select three different conquerors or champions here, okay? There are three different roles to each champion. You are going to have a destroyer, you are going to have a sentinel, and you are going to have what is considered a savior. A team must be comprised of one sentinel, one destroyer, and one savior. So you will have the opportunity to draft or randomly choose these different characters. But once you have selected your three characters, you will go ahead and take all of their acrylic standees, and you will take this little base tray here and you will put them in there, and then you will put them out onto the board. So this is kind of the board here, this 3x3 grid of all of these different planets. I know it might be hard to see, and I'll actually zoom in probably so you guys can see, but each individual planet is going to have some different conditions. So each planet is going to have a conquer condition. So if this planet is not conquered by anyone and you meet this condition on your turn, you will be able to conquer this planet. If a planet is already controlled by somebody else, you can overthrow a planet if you meet that criteria there. Let me straighten my camera up a little bit. And then each planet is going to provide you with a passive. So when you conquer a planet, there is going to be a planet card associated with that planet. You will be able to collect this card, and while you have this card and are the owner of the planet, you will gain the passive that that planet has, and it's basically just a reprint of what is on the planet itself. So there you can see the Earth card. Let me there we go. There you can see the Earth card, and there on the Earth, let me get that for you. All right, there on the Earth board or cardboard piece is the passive. Okay, so that's what each of these planets are going to look like. Let me zoom us back out, giving us that bird's eye view here. Alrighty, I'm gonna need to re-up my camera. There we go. Okay. So that's what is, you're going to select your characters, put them on the base, put the board out randomly. Each player will also collect one of these gambit point boards. All right, these gambit point boards are going to be your victory point tracker, essentially. It's going to tell you how you acquire these gambit points, and then also the end of game bonus points as well. Each character or each player will also take a nice turn order and symbol guide card, which will also give you the combat steps on the back. And then last but not least, I don't have it set up here, but you will set up essentially the market here. All right, so you will take all of these different cards and you will shuffle them up, and you will set up a 5-card market somewhere near the board, and these are the cards that are available for you to buy on your turn. All right, so let's go ahead and walk through what a turn would look like. So we are going to have 4 different steps to a turn. You will have a recovery phase, an armory phase, an action phase, and a conquest phase. So just walking through each of them, a recovery phase, you would be able to reduce your contender cooldowns by 1, okay? So I'm going to show you an example. This is a normal version of a contender here, which is considered an unrivaled, okay? Every contender is going to start on an unrivaled side. It says you will set their health to 20 at the start of the game. So that's their starting health. Each contender is going to have a little bio about them, and then they are going to have a special ability. All right. You will have the opportunity to awaken these contenders by paying 5 XP. And once you do, you will flip them over to this awaken side, and it's going to unlock 2 abilities. So these abilities are going to start with a cooldown of 0. And whenever you choose to use these abilities, you would then put the dial on the 3 spot, just like that. So that very first step of our turn order phase, where it says reduce the cooldowns by 1, any of your awakened contenders that have an ability on cooldown at the start of this recovery phase, you would drop that down to 1, and that is what you're going to do. Okay, the second step, you would gain 2 XP from the supply. So this is the supply of XP right here. You have 1s and 5s available to you. So you would go ahead and gain 2 XP. We would resolve any applicable effects or abilities. So any of the contenders that are in play, if any of them have an ability regarding the recovery phase, you would now go ahead and resolve that. And then the very last thing available to you, which is optional, you can awaken any number of unrivaled contenders you control for 5 XP. So this is that opportunity now to awaken your contenders. Okay, so that is the first phase of the game. Once you have done that, and every player will go through all 4 steps before they end their turn. So once you go through the first phase, we will move into phase number 2, which is your armory phase. So purchase any number of cards you would like with XP, and you may also pay 2 XP to restock the armory. So like I said, this is the armory. You will have a market of cards here, and so just an example of a card, we have the Harbinger Arrival. This is going to be 5 XP, and then it's going to have the effect there. Now, there are a couple different cards in the game. So we are going to have what is a support action. So mainly these support actions are going to be used when you are a defender. Okay, you can also use these support actions when you are an attacker as well. What else do we have? We have weapons, all right, that you will be able to attach to your different characters. All right, each character can only be attached with 1 weapon. We have non-combat actions here. All right, non-combat actions are actions that you can play outside of combat on your turn. And I do believe those are the 3 types. And then we have a combat action, all right? Those are the 4 types of cards. So a combat action, this is played if you are an attacker. All right, so if you're an attacker, you are only allowed to play combat actions or support action cards, or combat actions or support actions abilities. If you are the defender, you can only play support actions, and I'll go a little bit more in depth with that. But like I said, during this armory phase, you have the option to buy one of the 5 face-up cards that are available to you. So let's just say these 5 cards are out. If I had the required XP, let's say I want to get Decay, I merely spend, if it wants to, there we go, I spend my 3 XP, I would take this card into my hand, and then we would immediately refill the market there with a new card. All right, so that is the armory phase in a nutshell. Once you're done with that, we will move into the next phase, which is going to be our action phase, all right? So the action phase, the players will now perform 2 actions during their turn. One available action to you is to move your contenders to an adjacent planet. So you will be moving all 3 of your contenders at one time. So move it to an adjacent planet. This is either, I'll start from Earth. So this is either left or right. This is either up or down. So orthogonally, you will move all of your contenders to an adjacent planet. One of your other available actions is to engage in combat against an opposing contender occupying the same planet. So let's say we were here on Evelon. For one action, we would want to move into Mechadrelia. We are now occupying the same planet as another player. Our second action, we can now go ahead and engage in combat. And I'll dive into more combat into just a sec. All right. The last available action to you is to traverse to any planet for 2 XP. All right. Now, what's critical is this does not count as one of your 2 turn actions. So what I could do is, let's say I was on Eldramore here, or Eldralore. I could spend 2 XP to automatically traverse to Mechadrelia, and now I have the option to take 2 combat actions against our other character group over here. All right. I also forgot to mention that you can also move during this action phase. You are allowed to move to a planet that you already control, okay? So if I were to control Dracoloth and I was on Eldralore, I could just move straight away to Dracoloth for 1 action point, and that will not cost me any XP. Okay, that is it for that action phase. Let's go ahead and talk about combat while we are here. So if you are occupying two opposing teams are occupying the same planet, let's say this group over here on the left side initiates the combat with the right side. So once you decide to initiate combat, you must declare who is going to be attacking who. So you select one of your contenders to attack one of your opponent's contenders. So let's say Doomcaster right here is going to be attacking the Anzudalk, or Anzudalv? I don't know, I can't pronounce his name pretty well. We'll go with Zephyron. Zephyrion, I know how to pronounce that name. Master Zephyrion, actually. We're going to go with him. So now what you would do is both the attacker and defender would roll. So the defender is going to roll, which would be over here. He is going to roll 5 blue defensive dice, okay? And the attacker now is going to roll 6 attack dice, okay? So everybody would both roll their rolls simultaneously. So let's say we get these rolls here. Okay. On these rolls are going to be a couple different things. You guys might be able to see that. Let me zoom in my camera just a little bit closer. So you are going to have a sword, which is considered a hit. You're going to have a double sword, which is essentially a crit, which counts as 2 hits. You will have a shield, which is considered defense. And then on the defensive dice, you will have this symbol, which is considered a miss. All right. So those are the different symbols you would do. Now you have what is step number 3, the reroll step. So starting with the attacking player would go head first. He has the option to reroll any number of his dice that he would like one more time. So let's say he wants to reroll all 4 of these to try and get some more crits. And he did get 1 more crit, but he also has some defense as well. Okay, and then now the defensive player would now have the opportunity to re-roll, and let's say they want to try and get some more defense here, and we re-roll, and we have got some more defense. Perfect. All right. So that is step number 3. So I'm following along on our combat steps here. Step number 1, target. 2, roll. Step 3, re-roll. Now we move to step number 4, the defender's support action. So this is an opportunity for the defending player to play any armory cards or activate abilities using that support symbol. All right. So like I showed you guys, any card that has that defensive symbol here, or any ability that has a defensive symbol. So if you look at these contenders, you'll see they'll have an ability with that sword. They will have an ability with that support or shield icon. So this Cadavros could use this support ability if he was awakened as well. So you can use 2 either or, an ability or a card, or 2 cards in order to do that now. Then we would go to step number 5, which is the attacker action. So they can either play any combat action cards or support action cards, or any contenders with combat or support abilities. Okay, same thing, you can only use 2 here, so 2 cards, 2 abilities. You can use the same contender's abilities. So with Cadavros, I could use both his combat and support action in the same turn right here. So I will use those 2 abilities, and then once everybody is done with that, we would now do the resolve damage step. So damage is going to happen simultaneously here. So if we were taking a look at the attacker here, he has got 2, 4, 6, 7. So he is dealing 7 damage, and he has 2 shields, which is 2 blocks, okay? The blue player over here has 4 shields and 2 attack. So he would block 4 and deal 2 damage back to our attacker. However, our attacker has 2 shields, so this would negate this double attack here, and now 7 is coming, but he's preventing 4 of it, so the 3 damage would go on to, let me zoom this back out, just a smidget there. Okay, so now only 3 damage would come out to, there we go. So now only 3 damage would be attacking on Mr. Zephron. So at this point, you would go ahead and move the dial. So he would go down to 17 health. All right, and the Doomcaster would remain at 20, even though his dial is not currently set to 20 right now. So that is that combat step. In regards to combat, it is now a perfect time to bring and talk about these gambit points, all right? So there are a couple gambit points that can be triggered or gained through the use of combat. So you see here, whenever you deal 5 or more damage to an opposing contender, you would be able to gain 1 gambit point. If you were to defeat an opposing unrivaled contender or an opposing awakened contender, you would get gambit points as well. So that combat is definitely a way to generate gambit points. And then, like I said, the planets themselves, some of these conquer conditions are going to require you to engage in combat. So like Eldrelor right here, the conquer condition is to play a combat card this turn. So there's this uniqueness to the game where it's like you want to traverse or move and attack and then move away to fulfill conquer conditions of these planets to gain gambit points as well, because if you notice here, whenever you conquer a planet or overthrow a planet, you gain points. All right, so that is that combat step. So those are all of the action steps that you can take, and then the final step on your turn is you can conquer or overthrow the planet you occupy by matching the criteria. If you are successful, you would gain 1 XP. I also forgot to mention, whenever you engage in combat, both the engaged players would gain 1 XP as well. So those are the 4 different steps on your turn. And that, guys, is pretty much the entire game in a nutshell. You guys are just going to be taking turns. You will set this D20 dice to 10 and count that down, or if you want to play a longer game, you can set it to a different number, but this will be that round tracker. You guys will play until somebody reaches 20 gambit points. At that point, you will trigger the end of the game. Everybody's going to get 1 final turn, and then you will have the end of game bonus points, and then you will add all those up, and the player with the most gambit points at the end is going to be the victor. Now, just something quick I want to talk about, just something else I want to talk about very quickly is none of your contenders can ever die in a game. So if you have an awakened contender and his health does get reduced to 0, he would flip back over on the unrivaled side and he would start back at 15 health. Okay? If you have an unrivaled contender and he was to be defeated, you would basically leave him at his unrivaled side and just set him down to 15 health. If they had any weapons on them, those weapons would be discarded, and a contender's health can never exceed 20 points. All right, so that is the entire premise of the game. That's pretty much the overview of how you're going to play the game. Like I said, it's this cool strategic aspect of you are trying to figure out how you want to engage in combat with the opposing players and then kind of get out of there to fill these conquer conditions or overthrow some of these different planets that you are doing. And so, like I said, you're going to be generating XP the entirety of the game. You're going to be using this XP to buy armory cards, upgrade awaken your characters, and things like that. And the first player to reach 20 gambit points will trigger the end of the game. You'll go through all that in-game process, and the winner will be the player with the most gambit points. All right, guys, let's go back up top, and I will give you my review of Cosmic Conquest. Alrighty, guys, well, that was a lengthy overview, but like I said, I wanted to dive deep into the game and give you guys a good sense of how to play the game and how the game is going to work. So let's kind of talk about my review. This is going to be a little different than most of my normal reviews are. Obviously, we have that rating scale and system, but since this is not a finalized version of the game, I feel that it's not really fair and not accurate to go ahead and use our normal review rating system on a game that is considered a prototype. But I'm still going to dive into some of the different aspects that we would normally do. So let's go ahead and talk about the theme here. I think there's a strong theme with Cosmic Conquest, right? This overall theme is you are trying to be the cosmic conqueror, right? And so the whole objective is you are conquering these different planets with your team of 3 characters. And that really is the overall goal, right? This game really incentivizes you. As I've dove deeper into the game, it really incentivizes you to go and conquer all of these different planets, because what's kind of cool is each contender is going to have a home planet, all right, that they're from. You look at all these different contenders, it's going to say where they are from, and that planet is one of the planets in the 3x3 grid. Now, about 75 to 80% of the time, maybe a little more, if you have a contender and you control the planet that contender is on, their passive abilities and some of their other abilities are going to work in tandem with the passive ability of that planet. So, like I said, the purpose of the game is you are trying to be the cosmic conqueror. And so it really incentivizes you to go around and conquer these different planets. The first time I played this game, I played it wrong and thought of it more as just a head-to-head combat game where I'm just focusing on combat the whole time and doing this and doing that. And then as me and my friend explored and dove more into the game, we really explored some of these different planets, and we're like, man, I should have, like my friend was saying, man, I should have conquered this planet with this guy, because you look at his ability and he could have triggered the passive of the planet and then done this and done that. So I think the theme here, the theming of the game with all of the different characters, right? The home planets that they're from, those planets tying into some of their abilities and being able to play off of those different things. I think they've done a great job here in terms of that. Now, the theme into the mechanics, I think it works really well again, right? Because that kind of ties in the mechanic of you're trying to conquer these planets to get these passives. These passives coincide and work well with some of these different contenders that you're going to be playing. And it is a battler type game. That's what it's advertised, and that's what you are trying to do. Combat is an essential part of this game, as well as conquering, because there are a lot of planets where you're going to have to engage in combat in order to conquer it. So I think they got a great theme, integrated it very well into the mechanics of the game here. All right, let's take a look at the components. Man, I think they got some really quality components here. Obviously, the acrylic standees being in the standard version of the game is top-notch. when in my unboxing video I did mention that, look, this might be one of those games where I prefer the acrylic standees over the miniatures. Now, I haven't seen any miniatures yet, but as of right now, I am enjoying the vibrant presence of those acrylic standees. They really pop out on the table. In terms of the other components, those boards of the Contender board / dial thing, I think that works very well. I love how everything I need is in that one board. It's not like Dice Throne where I have to have a health dial, I have to have a combat point dial, I have to have this dial. The only small little caveat is I wish that they would make the dials the same numbers on the opposite side. So what I mean is, when you set that 20 mark on the unrivaled side, whenever you awaken your character and flip it over, it's going to be 2 instead of 20. So you're going to have to reset the health dial. I wish, if it's possible, that there was a way to just make it the same numbers on both sides, so that when I flip it over, I got a 20 on that side. I don't even know if that's feasible or not. But that's just a small little caveat. But other than that, the board itself, the game board, is just 6 cardboard. Basically, if you're familiar with Marvel United, they're almost about the same size as the locations in Marvel United. These are cardboard planets or cardboard locations, pretty close to the same size. So you're just going to set, there's 9 of them, so you're going to set that 3x3 grid out. But I think there's some excellent components here. I love the artwork of all the different characters and all the characters itself. I should talk about that. So there are 6 characters to represent each different category. So 6 saviors, 6 sentinels, and 6 destroyers. And that just gives you a whole lot of variety and a lot of options. So I think there's some excellent components here for this prototype, for this standard version of the game. Really a high quality product. Let's talk about the setup. The setup, I think, is fairly easy. I mean, like I said, there's not a whole lot. The longest part of the setup is going to be how you guys decide to pick your characters. So you can do a draft, you can do a snake draft, you can do it randomly, but you know, depending, there needs to be some sort of draft here with your characters, because there are some characters that are pretty OP, okay? And if you get some of those in the same team, you are pretty much going to wreck shop. So I think the setup is long, but it's gonna be expected for a game with this many characters. You're gonna want to see all the passes of the characters, what they do, and things like that. So setup is going to be a little lengthy the first couple times you play the game, because you're trying to figure out what characters do what and how I should play them. Also gonna read that backside of the awakened abilities to see exactly what they do. Or, you know, you can just YOLO it and just pick 3 random characters of each class and just see how that works out for you. But other than that, I mean, it's super easy to make the 3x3 grid. It's super easy to get the dice. You know, there's not a whole lot of real components here. It's just the dice, the cards, the boards themselves, and that's pretty much it. The turn order, player aid, gambit points, stuff like that is fairly easy to get to the table. So setup is not really too bad here. So I really enjoyed that. Let's talk about the length of the game. The game says 45 to 90 minutes. I think they hit that mark perfectly. I've played about 3 2-player games, and those games have been right around 45, 50 minutes. I played a 3-player game that's been right around 60 minutes. I enjoy how you don't realize that when you start the game, you're like, man, how am I going to get to 20 gambit points? And then as you play the game, you realize, like, oh, shoot, I can average like 3 or 4, depending on what I'm doing, gambit points almost every single turn. And it's actually, you will get 20 gambit points very quickly. We have never counted down or run out of turn and rounds, right? Because when you set up the game, it's going to say 10 rounds. We have never got down to like 3, I think, or 4 was the lowest round we ever got to. Most of the games have been like round 5 or round 6 we've gotten to there, and the game has been over, okay? Because we've reached that gambit point threshold. So I think there's a great length to this game. It gives you enough time to build out your characters and get a good strategy, but it's also not super long to where you're kind of like, all right, I'm over the game. So I think it's a great length. Let's talk about the difficulty. I think there is some challenging aspects to the game here, and that just comes in the sheer overwhelming abilities and passives and things like that. So, you know, you have a 3x3 grid. Each has its own planet. Each planet has its own conquer, its own overthrow, and its own passive. So those are 9 different planets, each with 3 different things you are trying to get down, okay? That's a lot of information already. On top of that, you have 3 characters that each have their own passive. If you awaken them, then they each have their own abilities as well. And then on top of all of that, you have cards that you can buy from the market, and those have different things as well. Now, all of these different conquers, overthrows, passives on the planet are very straightforward. There has been about maybe one planet that we have questioned about the conquer thing, but then as we read it more and more over again, we kind of figured it out. But everything is pretty straightforward. You know, it tells you got to have this amount of XP. You know, you have to have had at least 4 hits in your combat value in order to conquer this planet. You know, if you have less gambit points than the other players, you can overthrow the planet. That's pretty simple. Even with the characters themselves, the passives, the different abilities, I think they are very straightforward. The dice is very straightforward. The cards are very straightforward. Everything with this game is very straightforward. I do enjoy, they got a player aid card for you. They got all the information on that. On your victory point card, it tells you exactly how you gain those victory points, and then at the end of the game, how you score those victory points as well. So everything is very straightforward. I think it's just challenging from the aspect of there's so much information coming at you and so much things that you're trying to balance right now that the first couple times you play the game, it's very overwhelming, right? And like I said, I think it's almost better the first time you play the game that you just pick one random character, one destroyer, one sentinel, one savior, to kind of get the flow and understanding of the game, and then come back and try and do a draft and select your characters that you think are going to be really good. But you know, back to kind of round up my point, I don't feel the game is super difficult. It's just challenging with all of the different information coming at you. Everything else is very straightforward. You have all these different player aids and all of these different things that tell you exactly what you need to be doing at all times. And I think that's a great point, great part of the game here. All right. Replayability. I think there's a lot of replayability here with this game, especially with just the standard version, because like I said, there is 6 different characters of each class. So I've got to experience every character, and it's just the different characters are so unique. The different combinations you can build, the different strategies you want to take, all the different cards in the game with the weapons and the combat actions and stuff like that. I think there's some great replayability here with Cosmic Conquest. All right, normally we would go to price, but I don't know any pricing on this, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that, and we are going to move straight into my overall take on the game. I'm just going to talk about what I really enjoyed and some of the hesitations that I had with the game, or challenges, I guess, that I had with the game. First of all, let's talk about what I really enjoyed with the game. Man, look, Cosmic Conquest, like I said, it gives me that Dice Throne feel, but it's more of a slimmed down, streamlined is not the right word. I think just a slimmed down version of Dice Throne, because I am chucking dice, but I don't have to worry about trying to get numbers on the dice as well as symbols. I'm really just looking for symbols. I get to play cards from my hand that can maybe add dice, alter rolls to dice, multiply my rolls that I have, and then I also have these player abilities as well. This game gives me that Marvel versus Capcom type feel. Like, I'm building my team of 3 characters, choosing my characters one after the other, building my team of 3, and then sending that team of 3 out in battle. I think the mechanics are really work really well. It's simple, it's easy, it's straightforward. I love all of the different player aids in the game. The initial player aid with the turn order, symbol guide, combat steps on that Gambit Point board, right? It tells you everything that you need to know. I love how straightforward everything in this game is, and I do enjoy the combat aspect of the game and trying to maneuver and go around all of these different planets to conquer them, overthrow them, and things like that. And I really enjoy the presentation. The production is beautiful with those acrylic standees, and then the artwork is wonderful as well. There's a lot of things that I really enjoy about Cosmic Conquest. I am curious to see, in the rulebook, they did show that there are other game modes. So the original game mode is kind of a free-for-all game mode. But in the rulebook here, they said alternate game modes coming soon. They have a pure domination. They have a 5 to 6 player free-for-all, 2v2 team doubles, 3v3 triple threat, King of the Hill, and zone control. All right. So I'm curious to see, this pure domination, zone control, King of the Hill. I'm curious to see how all these different modes work, because I think those different modes are going to add a lot to this game, and I think maybe take this game to the next level. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and talk about some of the things, or let's go ahead and talk about some of the hesitations that I have with Cosmic Conquest. The first one is just a small little thing. I'm going to go ahead and drop down to the table and show you guys. It's in reference to the contender boards themselves. So let's go ahead and drop down the table and take a look at that. So here we are down here, and I just wanted to say one of my hesitations about this game is kind of how well these contender boards are going to hold up, all right? You can see already that there are some little bends, and then there is some damage right there. If I can zoom it out, there is some damage right there with these contender boards. Obviously, I do think you can see how thick these boards are. They are very sturdy and well made, but having to maneuver all of these different things around, storing them in the different box with these little dials right here, there is the opportunity for these dials to get caught somewhere like that, and it can cause some of these different bends. So if this doesn't really bug you, then it's not going to be an issue. But for me, being OCD, it does kind of bug me that there is just that little, let me zoom it in there. There is just that little tear or that little hole right there amongst all that different things. Okay. Now, while I am here down at the table, let me zoom out just a little smidget. I can go right into my second hesitation of the game, and that is just the sheer amount of information that you guys are going to have to deal with the first time you play this game. As you can see here are some of the contenders, and they are awakened. So if you manage to awaken all 3 of your contenders, now you have, not only are you having to deal with passives of each contender, but now each contender has different abilities. So now you have 3 things you need to be conscious of, as well as all of the information on the different planets. Let's go ahead and go back top, and I'll continue to expand on this a little more. So, like I said, the just sheer amount of information you have on the first time you play the game, I feel like a lot of people are going to misjudge this game. A lot of people might walk away from your first playthrough and feel frustrated, feel let down, and they really haven't grasped or got a good feel and understanding of what Cosmic Conquest has to offer. Cosmic Conquest is not a game that you can just get to the table, play it one time, and say, okay, I know what this game is about, I know what it does, and I'm either going to decide to play it some more or I'm going to put it on the shelf. Cosmic Conquest is a game that you're going to need to get to the table at least, I'm going to say, 3 to 5 times in order to really get a good understanding and dive into the game itself. So just know, when you guys are looking at Cosmic Conquest, this is going to be a game that you're going to want to put some time into, and to really get a feel and understanding of how the game works. All right, guys, well, look, that is my overall thoughts. Those are my overall opinions on the game. I know this is a very lengthy review, but I want to try and be as precise and just tell you everything about my thoughts and what I have seen so far in terms of Cosmic Conquest. Look, I really am enjoying this game. Very few games make me want to come back and keep playing and keep playing and keep playing, and this is what Cosmic Conquest was for me, right? Like I said, I played this game the very first time and I was like, I'm not really sure about this game. Like, I don't feel like I got exactly what it was supposed to offer me. And then I continued to come back to it and come back to it and come back to it, use different combinations, use some of those different planets, and now I'm like, man, I appreciate this game so much more. For me, like I said, it gives me that Marvel versus Capcom type feel where I'm drafting my 3 contenders and I'm battling using that to battle all the different opposing players. And I think the most exciting thing for me with Cosmic Conquest is I want to see those other game modes. I want to see the different ways to be able to play this game. Like King of the Hill, Pure Domination, what is all those different game modes like that, and what's the strategy? How is it going to change the game? I think all of that stuff is going to enhance this to a different level. The team mode, right? 2v2. All of those different things are really exciting me to see how this game is going to progress. But look, I definitely recommend Cosmic Conquest if you like stuff like Dice Throne, Dice Chucker type games, Battler type games. If you like Marvel vs. Capcom stuff, you are definitely going to enjoy Cosmic Conquest. All right, guys, go ahead and drop down in the comments below. What are your thoughts on all the stuff that you've seen here? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me on what I've explained and what I have seen here? If you like this content, smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and as always, guys, if you are not subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe so we can keep bringing you some more awesome content. All right, guys, have a great one. Bye.